Hi guys, welcome to Science Synthesis with Elu Eze. For all lovers of science, creativity, critical thinking, let's dive into the process proper and enjoy ourselves in the world of science. Thank you.
Now let's consider the contents of the Fanta and that of Sprite as well and see if we will attribute the reason why the Sprite bottle broke to its contents. So for the Fanta we have the carbonated water. It is simply a water which we've dissolved CO2, that's your carbon dioxide containing dissolved CO2. So we have carbonated water, we have sugar, we have citric acid, we have vitamin C, which is the ascorbic acid, we have the stabilizers, we have your flavorings, we have the sodium benzoate, and then we also have your colorings, that gives the Fanta the yellow color which we see. So let's now consider the Sprite. So for Sprite we have the carbonated water as well. Now, some persons during the analysis uh, was giving more consideration to the chemistry of the process in which they mentioned the gas. Now, but if we observe closely, we'll see that both of them contains this carbonated water, which means they contain CO2 that have been dissolved in water already. And this is done under high pressure. So we'll see later on if actually we can attribute the reason why the Sprite bottle broke to the content. So we also have the sugar, we have the citric acid, we have the sodium salt, we have the flavorings, as well we have the sodium
All right,
benzoate.
on social media, some person sent in the analysis of this process that we just viewed, and some said that Sprite contains more gas, and because of that, the bottle will break. And they gave this very analysis saying that on adding salt to Sprite, you will see the bubbles that will actually uh, evolve from it. So when I said, will Fanta do the same when we add salt to it? That's what we have to consider before we actually say yes, that the proposition of Sprite having more gas is true. Since both of them contain this carbonated water, that is dissolved CO2, when CO2 is dissolved in water, I would say that the water is carbonated. Since they contain this, will the same thing happen? We will actually say that when we add salt to Sprite, because we say that when we add salt to Sprite, it evolves this. We will not say that because of that very attribute, that Sprite contains more gas. So in the next video, we will see what will happen if we add salt to Fanta as well.
Been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say
Guys, all right, welcome back, guys. Like we saw in the previous video, what happened when we added salt to the Fanta bottle and then to the Sprite bottle. You imagine what really happened inside the bottle when we added the salt. The salt replaced the CO2 that we have in the carbonated water. So because of that, the CO2 couldn't find a place to stay. So it was not looking for an escape route. So that was why we saw the bubbles coming out, those explosive bubbles we saw daring in the Sprite bottle. That as well we also saw in the Fanta bottle. Because when we added the salt, the CO2 was replaced by the salt molecules. Now, we will now say, how come that of Sprite was higher or the explosion by the shot bottle was far greater than that of the Fanta bottle, since all of them contains the same carbonated water. But that of Sprite is more explosive than that of Fanta because of just one thing. If you check the video where we show the contents of the two drinks, that is your Fanta and your Sprite, also actually that the Sprite contains sodium salt. So imagine merging, you have a sodium salt already in the bottle and then you are adding another sodium salt to the content. So that means the explosion will be higher. So the basic reason now we are trying to draw out from that video is that both the Sprite and the Fanta contain gases. So that one behind. So no matter what, both of them contain gases and they give the same explosion when you add salt to them. So, but we're not trying to analyze from the previous video why the Sprite bottle broke and the Fanta remained the same. It is more of the mechanics than the chemistry. Now the question is, why did the bottle break? If we pay close attention to the previous video, we will see that the reason is not basically because of the content of the two bottles. Yes, they contain gases, but what happens for carbonated water? The CO2 is introduced at a very high pressure. So when there's a release of pressure, the CO2 will evolve from the bottle. So we know that gas being less dense will go from the top and not from the bottom. So we have little or no attribute to the fact that the bottle broke from behind. So basically, it's not of the content of the bottle. Let's now consider the mechanics of what really happened in that very video. You will see that the Fanta bottle maintained a uniform motion, but for the Sprite, it moved to a point and then it stopped. And on stopping, you will see that it now attained a free fall. It fell freely. You can check this. It's just as if someone picked up the Sprite bottle and then left it. Unlike the Fanta bottle that just maintained the same motion and then slided. But this Sprite bottle moved to a point and then stopped before it now fell from that very cliff. So it can be likened to someone picking up the Sprite bottle to a particular height and leaving it to fall on its own, which is the free fall. So that is just the basic thing that happened in that very video. So it's more of the mechanics than the chemistry. Like I said earlier, we rode both of them at the same time, but the Fanta maintained a uniform motion and then slided off the cliff through the same way. But the Sprite bottle moved and stopped at a point. So on stopping, is gathering a potential energy. It's amassing potential energy. So that when we now leave it up, it is now heavier than it was before. Just like someone leaving the Sprite bottle to fall on its own at a particular height. Should I start? Hi guys, welcome to Science Synthesis with, sorry, too fast.